Yes, the video of the effigy of the Grenfell Tower on a bonfire was offensive. However, is it a crime?
This was the people who shared on social media the burning of a cardboard model of Grenfell Tower with paper people as well, and the police arrested them on suspicion of a public order offence. And the question is what's offensive a crime?
Oh, I know in Scotland the police had put up advertisements in the tube encouraging people to turn people in for offensive behaviour online. It seems to me, for example, if you're concerned about knife crime, then maybe one of the things you don't want to do is have your police investigating offensive speech. And one of the things I do see happening in the UK as an outsider that's really quite terrifying to me is that there are increasing restrictions put on people's ability to speak forthrightly, and that the consequence of that restriction and the criminalization of what hypothetically constitutes offensive speech is going to be a cure that's so much more worse than the disease that we can hardly imagine it. It's a dreadful thing to see that happening in the UK. And so, I mean, people say things that are reprehensible all the time, but we can't always agree on what they are. But to start to criminalize that's hypothetical.
Are you saying there should? Are you saying nothing that anybody says should ever be counted as a crime? Racist
well, there's incitement to crime. That should be counted as a crime and has been for a very long time in the British common law tradition. But other than that, you should be very careful about what you regulate as speech. Who's going to regulate it? Who's going to define hate? That's the real issue. It's not that there's not hate. There's plenty of it. The question is who defines hate and how is it prosecuted?
I'm not frightened of forthright speech. I'm quite a forthright speaker myself. But when you talk about who's going to define hate, you want to see the letters and emails I see day after day and tell me that's not hate.
I didn't wait a second. Now, hang on a second.
No, John. Yes.
Okay.
There was somebody fined under the Communications Act earlier this year because he posed a video on YouTube of a dog doing a kind of Nazi salute, and he shouted in the background, "Gas the Jews." And that was, he was fined, it was a criminal prosecution. Is that right, in your view?
I didn't think that was right, no. I think it was a big mistake. I mean, I followed that case fairly carefully, and you don't have to agree that what he did was comical or right, but to prosecute him criminally was a big mistake, and you're going to pay for it in this country.
Today,
we have to stop there, I think. Diane, briefly, just on that.
I would say that type of video with somebody shouting "kill the Jews" is an incitement to racial hatred, and now that's a crime.
Okay.
Please. It's really important.
It may be important, but
80 years ago today, the precursor of the Holocaust happened. The night of the shattered glass, if I got the term. Kristallnacht. So don't underestimate what happens. It's only 80 years ago. And Jews were marched, their synagogues were burnt down, anti-Semitism was on the rise. This sentiment is happening again across Europe. And
all right, well,
I just would be really worried that people don't realise that.
Yes, but all right, fine. But that begs the question of whether that language should be criminalised, which is what the issue is. I'm not going to let you speak because we've reached the end of our hour.
What do you think?
I'm really sorry. And
it's not. It's
all right,
not
he says it's just a joke. Anyway, we have to stop there. I'm sorry.